I'm Stewart. Usually I'm out and about. Unfortunately, I'm building a shed this time. This is episode 4 out of possibly 5, I think. And in this one, we're going to be building a door, which is a step. And I'm going to be putting the roof onto the shed and putting the felt on the roof. That's about 7 takes I took with it. First order of the day, I need to check what height this doorway is. Now, planning restrictions might change where you are, but where I am, the maximum height is 2.5 metres if I'm within 2 metres of my property boundary. Well, am I within 2 metres of my property boundary? Yep. So this has to be 2.5 metres max. So let's check that. So we are looking at 212. 212, yep. From there to there, 2100. We then have to add on another 75 for 75 millimeters for our centre post here. That takes us up to 2195. Let's just call it 2200 just to make it easier. The maximum height is to be no greater than 2500. Take away 2200. That gives us 300 millimeters to play with. So I'm going to cut some support posts to go in there. It's very difficult backwards. They have to be no greater than 300. Let's just give ourselves a couple of millimeters to play with. I'm going to cut them to 275. I need you to move because I need to cut 6 of these. Wee. Just going to turn your back on me, are you? And you'll move when I start it up. Let's get cutting. Cut the joists and just sat them on for now. They're just sitting there, and I think that's looking good. And you'll notice from inside here I've matched each joist with one of these vertical supports as well, so that's roughly where it's going to go. Now I've got an issue, but it's a good issue. My intention, as you can see from the line on that bit of wood, was I was going to chop that bit of wood at an angle, and I was going to put each one of these bits of wood onto the side here. However, this moment came up for design change. Hello, voiceover me here. At this stage I was interrupted by my neighbour across the fence. He had concerns that the shed was too high. We've measured it and we know that we are compliant with the regulations. He was also concerned that the water would be hitting the roof of my shed and somehow flooding his garden. It won't, but it was a good reminder that you should stay on friendly terms with your neighbours, let them know what your plans are, let them have a say in the process if there's any design changes they'd like to make. Speaking of which, here's the original design. I've knocked it up in some CAD here, and you can see that the roof joists are butting into the side of the longitudinal beams there. And this is my revised plan. I'm now going to have the joists sitting on top of the beams. I think this will make a much stronger solution. So as you know, I marked an angle. And I'm going to have to cut every one of these bits of wood to that angle. So I'm going to set up my miter saw to that angle and just cut that on every single one of them. I've only marked one. As soon as it's set, I don't have to mark the rest, just have to cut it right on that corner. So I've just sat those two on top, and as you can see there's a big gap. Just shows that even though you measure it and mark it, you can sometimes get it wrong. I'm going to give it another try. Right, so I've got the first sheet just sitting on there just to check spacing. I've got it on the end there. There's a gap because it's bent, but that's flush with the end there, as I was saying. But you can hear these four joists, so they are not yet nailed down. The two there are, that one is, and I've decided that I want the overhang to have a continuous bit of wood, which means my joint is going to come in on this joist here. So I'm going to just position this joist to make sure there's enough of a lip here, an overhang, so I can get my last bit of wood between these two joists. And I'm just going to space them so that these are sitting on top of each of these vertical supports, and that one's, as you can see, will be slightly off this vertical support. I'm not too concerned about that. So I'm going to take this back off. I'm now going to nail down these joists, and then I can go and float this back up and nail it down. most of the roof on, but I've got a wee problem here, and not sure how it's happened, but it's happened, so let's just deal with it. If you can see these joists overhanging the edge, I've put a bit of wood, clamped a bit of wood here. You can see they're not all the same length, and I think that's just because of the way I've cut the angle at the top, and also just the way it's been assembled. But some have got a much bigger overhang than others if you look down the line. So got a bit of straight wood here, and I've clamped it on, and I've measured it's 165mm, and I've marked all those, and I'm going to have to cut them all individually. Again, it would be nice to have a circular saw. I don't. I'm going to try a jigsaw on it. If that doesn't work, I'm going to have to cut them all by hand. Did some work off camera, so we've now finished the infill there and the infill at the back there, and got the last bit of the roof on as well. I had to go to B&Q and buy an extra sheet of hardwood plywood. And if I move back here, you notice I've built myself a workbench out of scrap wood. Ignore the bottles, that's actually quite bad. Now, I need to build a door. We have a door. We don't have hinges or way to open it or lock it, but we've got a door. That's going to get painted. We'll fit some hinges to it. Last job now, let's put some felt on the roof. I've bought some felt, and what I've done here, garden's starting to grow. What I've done here is unrolled it all the way down, put some wood on the ends, and I've left that for 2 days now just to relax it because it was tightly wound into a tube. So now I'm going to cut it up, I'm going to put it up there. Roof of the garage, roof of the shed is 3 metres long, so I've cut these sheets into 3.3 metre lengths because the roll started off as 10 metres, so cut the 2 rolls into thirds, 3.3 metres each. And there we go, roof complete, shed watertight and ready to be put into use. Now I've already filled it up with all my junk. I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks actually sorting through it and tossing about half of it away. Always promised myself, yeah, sort out all the stuff before you put it in the shed. Didn't happen, so I'm going to do that over the next few weeks. We'll do that off camera though, nothing you need to see. What I am going to be doing in the next couple of weeks though, I'm going to be working on my biggest project. We are going to be walking the West Highland Way. That is a long distance footpath from Glasgow to Fort William. It's 96 miles long. Not only am I going to walk there, I'm going to walk back. And guess what? I've never done any walking of that sort ever. So that's going to be fun. I'll do a fifth video, maybe June, July time, and that'll go over the costs, I'll go over all the materials, I'll show you all the tools that I used along the way. I've built myself a nice strong shed from scratch, and I've done it for about £850, I reckon. I've never done a shed before. I think this is well within everybody's capabilities. And for that kind of money, you can even buy a shed half that price in B&Q and the quality will be nowhere as good. It'll be nowhere as strong. So give us a go. Give it a go. One last thing, I've been posting these videos on YouTube and I thought like 10, 20 people would be watching them and have had so many more views, so many more comments than I ever expected. And just to say thank you to every one of you, I really do appreciate it. Cheers. That was about 17 takes. I should get about 2 usable lines from that.